announcing your intentions. Easier said than done. Announcing your intentions. It's easier said than done.
Colomina describes the theatre box-like spaces in Adolf Loos's designs as the intersection between claustrophobia and agoraphobia. This public versus private and the interior versus exterior effect might explain what it's like to live in an inner-city apartment. We want to be close to the city and be connected with the outdoors, but we also want our own private sanctuary, and we might be a little bit afraid of what others might see inside. The garden house intends to create a connectivity with the outdoors, but at the same time it aims to provide a sanctuary within a sanctuary. Located in Carlton near the Melbourne CBD, the garden house comprises of 49 luxury apartments designed by Woodsbaggett in 2011. It faces the Carlton Gardens and the Royal Exhibition Centre. It's close to the city and Lygon Street. These surroundings are very public spaces and are the appeal of the location, the buzz of the city and the tranquility of the gardens. Large floor-to-ceiling windows open up the views to the outside. They also create modular forms which are a reference to the terrace houses of the Carlton suburbs. The forms might be a reference to the houses nearby, but the exterior of the garden house is a very public version of the otherwise private and fussy Victorian facade. The exterior is actually made up of a series of frames. These frame the view from the inside out, for the people who live in the apartments, but also for people outside looking in. Who's watching who? Colomina describes the framing devices used in Corbusier's work, where the house itself becomes a frame for the view. The garden house intends to provide this connection between the exterior and the interior using frames. The garden house sits on a formed concrete pedestal, creating angular forms that extend outward from the building. It's strong, solid and permanent, and in this sense it creates a feeling of privacy. The formed concrete is reminiscent of Corbusier's Unité de Habitation in Marseille, which included shared public spaces for the residents. The garden house, however, is more of a collection of private individual spaces. One of the shared areas inside the garden house is the foyer. It's the crossover point between public and private and the interior and exterior. The concrete form extends outwards beyond the building. This is a space where residents might run into each other while collecting their mail or coming and going. But it's not really a space where people are socialising and interacting. The furniture just seems to be there to remind people that they live somewhere nice.
Announcing your intentions. It's easier said than done. But is it better to say nothing?
The garden house interiors were completed by Hecker and Guthrie. Their other projects include retail and commercial spaces that often have a very domestic and private feel, so it's quite interesting to compare one of their private spaces. Some examples of their work include Sensory Lab at David Jones in Melbourne, the Grace Establishment in Adelaide, and the Saba stores in Melbourne. Interior designer Paul Hecker describes the inspiration for the interiors coming from the need to create a sanctuary within a sanctuary. He says the garden house sees interior design turned upside down, with the size of the bedrooms and bathrooms meeting that of the living space. Joinery recedes into the wall, creating a sense of continual space and flow. Soft curved walls contrast to the angular concrete forms of the exterior. Combined with recessed ceilings and lights, the edges and boundaries are removed. This directs you to move from the private interior space to the view of the public exterior on the balcony. The full-height windows extend beyond the ceiling, almost trying to break free of the frame. This creates that continuation between the interior and the exterior. However, most of the balconies in the complex are recessed, and everyone has blinds and shutters, so residents have the option of being private. The bathrooms and bedrooms open directly onto the main living space, a not so private aspect to this private sanctuary. The bedrooms and bathrooms are very small, but this is intended to maximise the main living area, which feels very spacious and open. For the garden house, this is the intersection between claustrophobia and agoraphobia, but this is always going to be a challenge for apartment design. Overall, the garden house creates a strong contrast between its public exterior and its surroundings, and its private personal interior. Yet it successfully retains a connection between the public and private space. You don't feel boxed in, but you also don't feel like you're being exposed. An interesting combination of framing and the removal of edges at the same time creates an open interior. These interior details take the inside out almost seamlessly. You can enjoy the privacy of your own sanctuary while still being connected with the outdoors.
Announcing your intentions. Easier